Why inconsistency destroys businesses. In part 1, we saw how business A, business B, and business C all started with the same $5,000. We saw how structure and emotion were already destroying two of them. But even with perfect systems, these next two forces are what bankrupt owners who think they have already won. One of the most dangerous silent killers of business success is inconsistency. And the worst part? Most entrepreneurs don't even realize they are being inconsistent. They think they are, taking a short break, waiting for motivation, or being realistic. But slowly, without noticing it, they begin breaking the one thing every successful business depends on: consistency. Because business is not built by starting strong. It is built by continuing when excitement disappears. Anyone can work hard for 1 week. Very few people can keep showing up when results are slow, attention is low, and motivation fades. And that difference changes everything. To understand this properly, let's look at business A, business B, and business C. Because all three businesses had potential. But only one understood how consistency actually works. Business A, the stop-and-start entrepreneur. Business A sells phone accessories online. At first, the owner is highly active. Daily posts. Ads running. Constant updates. And almost immediately, attention starts coming in. But then something changes. Week 2, the posting slows down. No time. Week 3, the owner becomes motivated again after seeing competitors growing. Now the business becomes active again. Then week 4 arrives. And suddenly everything disappears again. No marketing. No updates. No visibility. At first, this behavior feels harmless. But behind the scenes, something dangerous is happening. Customers are losing trust. Because inconsistent businesses become difficult to remember. 1 week the brand feels alive. The next week it feels abandoned. And over time, the business slowly loses momentum, not because the idea was bad, but because the effort was unstable. Because a business that constantly disappears eventually disappears from people's minds too. Business B, the mood-based operator. Business B runs a small delivery service. Unlike Business A, this business stays operational. But there's another hidden problem controlling everything: mood. When the owner feels motivated, service becomes excellent. Orders arrive quickly. Messages get answered fast. Energy feels high. But when stress, fatigue, or disappointment appears, everything slows down. Deliveries become delayed. Customers get ignored. Service quality changes completely. And without realizing it, customers begin experiencing a different business every week. Some weeks feel professional. Other weeks feel chaotic. And this creates something extremely dangerous in business: unpredictability. Because customers do not build loyalty around inconsistency. They avoid it. Over time, trust weakens. Reputation suffers. Customers quietly leave. Not because the business lacked potential, but because nobody knew which version of the business they would get. But then there's Business C. And this business approaches growth completely differently. Business C, the consistent builder. Business C runs an online tutoring service. At first, growth feels slow. The posts don't always perform well. Some weeks bring little engagement. Results are not immediate. But unlike the others, Business C understands something most entrepreneurs learn too late: consistency compounds quietly before it becomes visible. So the business keeps moving. Content gets posted daily regardless of engagement. Marketing continues weekly without interruption. Client responses follow a fixed schedule. Progress gets tracked and improved every month. Even during slow periods. The system does not stop. And over time, something powerful begins happening. Trust builds. Visibility increases. Customers return. Momentum strengthens. Not suddenly. Gradually. Because consistency works like compound interest. At first, the progress feels small. But repeated long enough, it becomes extremely difficult to stop. And while inconsistent businesses keep restarting from zero, Business C keeps building on top of previous progress. That is the hidden advantage consistency creates. The core truth. Most businesses fail because people expect results too quickly. When growth feels slow, they stop. When motivation disappears, they slow down. When excitement fades, they abandon the process completely. And without realizing it, they confuse temporary effort with long-term commitment. But business success is rarely built through intensity alone. It is built through repetition, patience, and sustained execution over time. Because the businesses that survive are usually not the loudest at the beginning. They are the ones that keep showing up long after others stop. Final takeaway. In business, consistency often beats talent, ideas, and even funding. Because inconsistent effort destroys momentum before growth has time to compound. Without consistency, marketing loses effectiveness, customers forget the brand, and momentum keeps resetting. But with consistency, trust grows slowly. Visibility expands. Systems strengthen. And over time, growth starts becoming predictable. Because successful businesses are not built only by powerful moments. They are built by repeated action sustained long enough to matter. The infographic explains that most businesses fail not because of external problems like lack of money, customers, or luck, but because of internal weaknesses in how the business is managed. But here's the question most entrepreneurs rarely ask: what if the real problem is not the market, but the system behind the business? It highlights 6 major causes of business failure and shows how each one quietly affects growth and stability over time. The first cause is lack of structure, where businesses operate without proper systems such as pricing, record-keeping, workflows, marketing plans, or financial organization. Without systems, the business depends entirely on the owner's memory and motivation. And this raises an important question: can a business really grow if everything depends on one person's memory? The second cause is emotional decision-making, where entrepreneurs make decisions based on fear, excitement, frustration, or stress instead of logic and data. This creates unstable strategies and inconsistent direction. But what happens when every decision changes with every emotion? The infographic also emphasizes inconsistency, where people stop and restart efforts too often. Marketing, customer service, and business systems become unreliable, preventing momentum and long-term growth. And over time, one pattern becomes clear: what you don't repeat cannot compound. Another major issue is poor financial management, including mixing personal and business money, failing to track expenses, overspending, and lacking reinvestment plans. Even profitable businesses can collapse because of poor cash flow management. This leads to a critical question: how many businesses actually fail while still making money? The infographic further explains the danger of having a weak or non-existent marketing system. Businesses that fail to advertise consistently, build visibility, or create audience engagement become invisible in the market. Because in business, invisibility is the same as non-existence. Lastly, it highlights lack of long-term thinking, where entrepreneurs expect quick profits, quit too early, and focus only on short-term survival instead of building scalable systems. But what changes when someone chooses to think in years instead of weeks? The overall message is that business failure is usually caused by weak systems, poor discipline, and unstable management rather than external circumstances. The infographic concludes with a powerful lesson: business failure is rarely about the market, it is usually about the system behind the business. When these internal systems are weak, failure becomes likely. When they are strong, even a small business idea can grow into a sustainable and successful business.